Hi, my name is Ram, and welcome to the series where we build real web application with React and Node.js. First of all, I want to sorry about my absence for the 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, but I had really serious family emergency. In short, my mother-in-law had a stroke while being abroad without insurance, so it was quite an emotional journey and roller coaster and a couple of gray hairs, but all ended well. So thanks God for that. And now, as everything settles down, I'm ready to continue producing content more regularly. Another news is I work really hard right now on my premium course, and it's almost ready. So I'm actually seeing the finish line. So right now I'm handling the legal stuff with my tax office, and I'm waiting the green light from my bank to integrate my paying terminal, etc. So it's quite exciting. So very soon, I hope in 2 or 3 weeks, I'll publish my premium course and it will be available for purchase. It's quite exciting. So because of all of this work, don't expect me to make more than 2 episodes per week for in next 2 or 3 weeks, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I will have the inspiration to do even more. So I want to thank all my patrons for the support. I've got money and I will actually spend it not on games and bubblegum, but on the improving the production quality of the videos. Maybe we'll see something about some kind of a jingle, something like that. So there will be some changes, I hope for the better, in the production quality of these videos. Maybe I will do something with my lighting and green screen or something like that. Or with this echo. I have really echoey room. Sorry for that, but can't do anything right now to fix it. So if you're not a patron yet, become one just for $1 a month and you get the access to private community. And also I've got the PayPal donation if you want to be generous only once. So feel free to do that. Okay, so let's get down to our episode, to this session. In this session, we have 2 goals. The first one is to actually complete authentication process. So now on the server side, we need to check for user authentication on the server, and in this way we're gonna protect our books route. So not anybody can accept this and have access to this route, but only users. So we'll see how to do that, and in this we're gonna complete authentication. And the second goal is to actually make API requests to Goodreads to get the books from that database. Okay, so let's get down to it. So we're going to work mostly on the server side, but a little bit on the client side. So let's go to server-side code. So here I'm in Bookworm API. So here in Books, right now anybody can access this route, and that's not what we want to do. We want to allow only authenticated users to do that. And in Express, we use middlewares to accomplish that. So we're going to create right now in a second authenticate middleware, and we're going to import it from middlewares authenticate. Okay, and now to use it for the whole router, we just use router.use authenticate. Done. So if we would like to protect only specific route in this specific endpoint in this router, we could add it right here as the middleware, so authenticate. So now, and do not do this. So now in this way, only get search is required for authentication and other routes here are not. But in our case, the whole books router is going to require authentication. So what is middleware? Middleware is basically a function. So let's go and let's create middlewares authenticate.js, and we're gonna export default constant, and we call it authenticate, and that's gonna be a function. And this function takes 3 parameters, like our routes do. Actually, routes are middlewares, but that's the endpoint in the chain of middlewares. So it has request, response, and next. That's going to be a function. So what is middlewares? You can imagine it like a chain of functions. So we have a chain. Each function is called the middleware because it can halt things. It can because it does some job in it and then passes it down to the next function. And the same thing goes with this one. Another option is that some of them is going to halt the operation, to stop it, and respond, and no other functions will actually execute. So in our case, that's the second thing that we want to implement. So we want to check for authentication. And authentication, basically, we're going to take the authorization token and we're going to verify it. And if it's valid, we're going to pass the execution further. If it's not, then we're going to halt the operation and we're going to respond with error message and error status. So what we need to have, first of all, we need to have a header. So that's what we haven't done yet on a client. Each request should have authorization header if user is authenticated. So this way we can check if user is authenticated or not. So we're gonna access it from request headers authorization. Okay. So now if we have such a header, we're gonna take token from it. So we'll have token that equals to header. I want to split this header because usually by convention header is something like bearer, then we have space, and then we have some token. So I want to split it by space, and then I'm gonna take the second value, which is the token. So let's define token here as undefined. Okay, so if we have header, then we extract token, and after that we want to actually verify it. So first of all, if token exists, then we're gonna verify it, but if it doesn't exist, then we'll respond with status 401, and we'll say JSON errors, let's say global, no token provided. Okay. If we have token, we need to verify it with JSON web token. So we'll have JSON web token, We input it, and here we're gonna verify it. Verify token. We use process.env.jot_token, and then we'll have error and decoded information as the result. And again, we check for error. So if we have error, then we respond with status 401, and JSON is going to be errors as well, global, and this time it is invalid token. Okay, but if it is valid, we actually just call next. So this way, if everything's okay, we just call the next function, and the next function is middleware chain is actually the router code. So what happens here, where user goes to this search, it has the middle of, it has the chain of middlewares, and then it has this authenticate middleware, and if it calls next, this body of the route is called. Also, we can actually save something in our request object. So for example, we can have user email, and we can take it from decoded email. So this way we can use this user email in our routes. So here, for example, I can access it with a request, user email, and find current user with the help of it. Another thing that we can do is actually find user in the database, and if it's there, again, we check if it's there, then we save it into current user, for example. Otherwise, we again respond with error that no user is found. Okay, but for now, that's enough. So here's what we do. We take header, we have token we get token from the header, and then we verify this token, and we respond, either we respond with error or we continue with program execution. Good. So let's try it out in our application. So I'm gonna make request, and we have 500. That's not what I actually wanted. Let's have a look. We have an error here somewhere. Okay, let's const authenticate default const. Oh, so here let's just do it like this. Okay, so let's try it again. I'm gonna reload the page. Okay, so now we have 401, that's good. And we have global error, no token, because we now do not pass any token. So if we go to headers, you can see that we have no authorization token. We haven't done it yet. So now we need to go to the client-side code and make this change. So let's do this. So here I am in Bookworm React code. And let's go to index first of all. So here what we have right now. So if we have in a local storage, if we have the token, we decode it and we dispatch action. But also we need to change our all future API requests to include this token into the authorization header. And with Access, we can do it pretty easily. So let's create utils folder, and inside of it, we'll get set authorization header.js, like this. So I'm going to export default function, and this function will take token, and by default, it's going to be null. So if token is provided, then we want to set this header. And for that, we need to import Axios. Now we can use Axios defaults headers dot common dot authorization. So this way we set default header authorization that will equal to bearer, the JSON convention, and the token itself. Otherwise, if token is null, we want to delete it. So we're going to delete all of this thing here, this authorization token stuff. Okay, so now we can go to index here, and we're going to import set authorization header from utils set authorization header. And now if we have token, we're going to set authorization header, and we get this local storage bookworm jot token. Good. But now if we go back to browser and let's make the request, let's reload the page and let's make the request, you can see that we have the same error here. But now we have authorization header, and it has the bearer here and the token itself. Okay, but we have invalid token. That's interesting. Why do we have invalid token? Let's have a look. Header split, first one. Oh, jot secret. Oh man, not jot token. Okay, so let's try it again. So now, hopefully, we make a request, and yeah, it's good. We have books back. So that happens because we have in headers, now we have this bearer token, this authorization token in it. So that's good, but still not perfect. So for example, when we log out, we need to delete this token from the header. And when we log in, we need to set it up, not only on the reload of the page, but just when I log in. So for that, let's go back to React code, and here let's go to actions auth, and we're going to import set authorization header from utils set authorization header. And now here in our logout, we just use set authorization header without any parameter, and that will delete the token. And in login, we use set authorization header, and we pass the user.token into it. So now, if we go back, reload the page, and when we log out, now when I'm going to log in, you will see that here in auth, I do not have authorization token. But after I logged in, of course, I will get it back. Good, so it works. Nice. Another thing that we maybe should test is the validity of token. So for example, here, if I make it invalid by replacing it like this, and I reload the page, and now I'm trying to make a request, we'll have an error. This time, invalid token. So the verification of the token doesn't work. does work. Okay, that's cool. So let's go back here. So that's basic user authentication check on server side and on the client. So on the client, we need to include this token in each request that we do to the server, and on the server we just check and verify it. And you can do as elaborate as you need to. You can check for expiration date, you can check for user existence, you can check for user rights, etc., etc., etc. So depending on the needs of your application. Okay, so now to the Goodreads API, and I was too optimistic about it. Unfortunately, it's not that kind of a great thing. So here, if you go to goodreads.com/API, you will see the API documentation, and I already logged in on my account. And here's the whole API stuff. But the problem is, so here we have the search stuff, search books. Okay, so in theory, it should do what we need it to do, but in practice, it's not exactly what we want. So here, as you can see, we have this book search index, and we just provide query, and we need to provide key, developer key. And developer key, you just can follow this link. And if you have the account, you will have the key and the secret that you can use. You can generate them. So you just grab it from here. And you need to provide query, and you need to provide this key, and you will get the results back. Sounds cool, but let's have a look at the sample URL right here. So what we get in the as a return and the response from the server is XML document. That's also cool. XML documents are nice. But if you can see here, we can the result, and the result is a lot of works for our search query. And this work has the best book, not the old books. It only tells us that it's 222 books. And it will just provide us with the best book. And this best book has title, author, and image URL, just one. We expected a lot of covers for different editions, but no, we have only one cover for now. And the most frustrating thing is that in this best book, we do not have page number. And that's really sucks, because now we actually will need to make another request. When user clicks and selects the book, we need to make another request to get another bunch of information. Or we can do it, no, we should do it like this, yeah. So that's what we're gonna work with. Unfortunately, it's not this in the way that we really wanted it to be. But it's doable, it's pretty good for our purposes. So we need to make requests to another server, and we need to then parse XML to JSON. And for that, we're going to use two packages. So let's go to terminal. And here I'm going to use yarn-add, and we're going to use XML to JS, package to convert XML to JavaScript. And another one is request promise. Request is a great library to make requests, API requests. Okay, so now in our code here in books, I'm gonna comment these things out just for reference, and we're gonna do everything right here in the router. We're not bothered right now with extracting, with creating some kind of abstractions, because we experimented. We do not know even what we're gonna have in the end. So first of all, let's import request from request promise, and I'm gonna import parser, parse string from XML to JS. XML, right? Yeah. Okay, so now I can make the request. So I'm gonna get request, get, and here where I want to have the request, so let's go back to here, and we'll see the request is looking like this. So I'm gonna just paste code here. You can see that we have key, and instead of this query, we need to have our query, and we get it from request query queue. So that's how we make the request to our API. So in this query, have what user typed in the search field. Okay, and then we'll have the response, the result. So let's have a look. Response JSON result. I just want to have a look what kind of data we get in the end. So if you're going back here, let's just reload the page and let's make request. Okay, so in the end we have result and XML document. Nice. So now we can actually work with this XML document. So let's have a look what we have if we parse. Yeah, we need to parse it, but this parse string actually takes the callback. So we'll have parse string, we parse result string into it, and the callback is error, and then the result of our parse string. So we're gonna let's call it Goodreads result. Okay, and what I want to do, I'm gonna response JSON with Goodreads result. Okay, let's have a look. Gonna reload the page, make the request, and oops, and now here what we have. So we have in the result we have Goodreads response. Inside of it we have request and the search. The search is what we're interested in. Inside of the research, so even if the child has only one element, it still will be parsed into an array. So we have search, and we need the first one. And then we'll have the results, and the results will have works, and here are our proposition to the for the books. And inside of it, we'll have all of these things that we saw before. So now we can use them, use this data, and generate the object that we want to have. So let's do this. So here is the thing that we want to have. So let's say books. And now we need to map through the results. So we'll do with Goodreads results, then we'll have Goodreads response. Inside of it, we have search, first one. Inside of the search, we have results, also the first one. And inside of it, we'll have work. And then this, amazingly named just in singular work, but that's an array. And so we'll have work. And we respond with object. And we want to have this kind of object here. So I'm going to just copy and paste it here. And I'm going to remove comments. Okay. So the problem with this is that we do not have pages, unfortunately. I'm going to delete it. And we'll have only one cover. But still, we're going to use the array stuff here. So for the Goodreads, again, we need to drill down. We need to drill down. So as you can see here, we'll have in this work, we'll have the best book. Inside of this best book, we'll have the title, we'll have the ID. Inside of this ID, we'll have underscore, which is the ID. So we'll have work dot best book, first one. Then we have the ID, first one as well. And then we'll have underscore. So this is the ID. For the title, we'll do very similar thing. We have the best book. Inside of it, we'll have title, the first one. So for authors, okay, work, best book, the first one. And then we'll have, let's have a look. So we have author, and inside of this author, we have name. And all of these are arrays. So we have author, first one, and then we have name, first one as well. And for covers, we'll use work, best book, first one, and inside of it we'll have image, URL, also first one, like this. Okay, let's try it out. Let's print 9084. We're making a request, and here we go. We have the results. 9084, 10 results for different kind of works that was found here. So if we choose the first one, the most popular one, we have the George Orwell's 1984, but without page count. That's a bummer. You can still go back to this list and look for another book and for another book, because we actually made one request and we cached everything in there. So that's quite convenient. But if you want to have another book like Harry Potter, for example, we make a request, and here we go, Sorcerer's Stone, for example. Good. Looks pretty good, pretty decent. So the things that we can actually change, and what I propose you to do, and we will do it in the next episode as well, but what I want you to try out if you have some time and desire to do, is to implement it manually. So first of all, first idea is right here you can see that it's quite not pleasant to look at. Maybe you can change it to add author of the book, so by J.K. Rowling, for example. Or maybe you can even add here the little small image of the book. It should be better from the user point experience. Also, the most important part here is when user chooses the book, clicks on it, you need to make another request to the server and get pages and, for example, rating of the book and Goodreads link to this book. So for that, you need to read through and experiment with the Goodreads API and have some fun with it in the process. Okay? So try it out on the weekends, and in the next episode we'll see what we can do to improve this thing, and then we're gonna save this book in our personal database and we can move forward from it. So thank you very much for your time. If you like this episode, hit the like button. Also, if you want to support me, just become my patron or just make a one-time donation via PayPal. All links in the description below. Thank you very much for your time and have a great day.